The final stage is about adding detail and texture. There's a lot of work in this stage, a lot of layering and a lot of time. There's no shortcut to achieving a sense of the wolf's thick coat with all that hair. It needs to be built up with layers and layers of colour. I personally like to start adding detail at the top left of the drawing, out of habit, but also because it lessens the risk of smudging the drawing as I'm working. Laying a piece of paper on the drawing underneath your hand works well for preventing smudges, but I always forget, and also it presses down on that lovely fluffy pastel dust, which I personally like to keep for as long as possible. I'm working in sections here, focusing on each ear at a time, then the top of the head, then the rest of the face, and finally the neck. This just allows me to focus more on the section I'm working on and avoid becoming overwhelmed. I'm starting with the deepest, darkest areas using black, then adding in all the other colours I see. When choosing colours, try to be open with the colours that you see in the reference, rather than choosing colours you might presume to be there. For example, with this grey wolf, it might be tempting to see black, brown, grey and white. But if you look closely at the reference, there's quite a lot of blue and yellow in there too. Also, to ensure consistency throughout the drawing, try not to use too many colours. Select a few colours and stick with them. For this entire drawing, I've used 7 colours: black, white, blue, 3 shades of brown, and yellow. Once you have achieved a good base for the ear and captured the darkness of the inside, start to layer up some of the hairs on the inner ear. For this, I've used almost all of my colours, but even if using a lot of different colours, try to stay true to the reference and stick with the pattern of lighter and darker areas. The whitest lines of hairs that are catching the light make up the final touches of the ear. Make sure your pencil is very sharp for this part. Then to complete the ear, I'm just redefining the darkest parts with a black pencil. Repeat this process of layering with the top of the head and the second ear. This will take time and patience, but it is the only way to achieve the depth of the coat. I think I listened to an entire audiobook while drawing this stage, so it wasn't nearly as fast as the time-lapse video is making it appear. Moving on to the main face, and again starting with the darkest areas, I'm adding more depth to the mask. So when someone is viewing the finished drawing, we really want them to focus on the face, especially around the eyes. This brings a sense of life and character to the drawing. For that reason, this area is where we should focus the finest detail. This means drawing in a few of those individual hairs that catch the light, using a sharpened white or ivory pencil. It's really important to accurately capture the direction of these hairs, and also, really importantly, to keep the effect of a few stray hairs catching the light. Don't overdo the number of hairs. On the lighter areas, such as the cheeks and the muzzle, you may find you are choosing a lot of unexpected colours. There are some definite blues, yellows and browns. The surrounding colours are reflecting onto the white parts of the coat. So browns and yellows are reflecting from the undergrowth, and blue is reflecting from the sky. Don't be afraid to add these colours in. If you see them, they're there, and drawing is all about learning to see. I'm now using a white, soft pastel stick to add some final highlights to really bring the picture to life. As with the stray hairs we added earlier, take care not to overdo this part, or you will risk losing the effectiveness of the highlights. To finish, I want to extend those feathery hairs on the neck, firstly with a black pastel pencil, then dark brown, then some final white hairs using the white soft pastel stick. As we want to keep the finest detail on the centre of the face, try to avoid having any sharp areas on the neck which might draw attention away from the face. So rather than rubbing this in to blend it and risk losing all detail, simply pat it down gently with a finger. That completes the grey wolf drawing. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you've enjoyed this video course.